You're grabbing your bag before you leave the house. Keys, phone, wallet, and then, without thinking, your hand finds it. The small canister clipped to the side pocket. You don't look at it. You don't think about it. You just make sure it's there, and then you go. Maybe you've done this for so long that you'd feel naked without it. Maybe you started carrying it after something happened, or after something almost happened, or maybe nothing ever happened at all. And that's the part you've never quite been able to explain to anyone. It's not fear exactly. It's something quieter than that, something more like preparation, a promise you made to yourself a long time ago. Today, we're going to talk about what that habit is actually telling you about the woman you've had to become. You notice things other people don't notice. When you walk to your car at night, you're already scanning. Not consciously, it's just the way your eyes move. You check who's nearby. You note the dark corner near the stairwell. You have your key ready before you reach the door. Not because anyone taught you to do that, but because at some point, your body just started doing it automatically. You sit with your back to the wall in restaurants. You know which exits are closest. You've played through scenarios in your head, not because you're paranoid, but because the thinking feels better than not thinking. Preparation feels like control. And control, for you, has always felt like safety. Your friends might not even know you carry it. Or they know and they shrug. You smile and say you can never be too careful, and you mean it. But you also know that's not the whole story. You're not just careful. You're alert. There is a part of you that is always quietly on watch. You respond to texts faster when you're out alone. You share your location without being asked. You've written a text you never sent, drafted mid-walk, just in case. You cross the street when something feels off, even if nothing technically is. And when people say you worry too much, something in you goes tight. Because they don't understand that what they're calling worry, you call wisdom. The pepper spray isn't the behavior. The pepper spray is just the most visible part of a pattern that runs much, much deeper. If any of this sounds familiar, drop a 1 in the comments. You'd be surprised how many women are reading this right now, thinking the same thing. Here's what I want you to stay with, because this is where it gets interesting. That level of vigilance didn't come from nowhere. It was built, layer by layer, and it has a name. What you're experiencing has a name. Psychologists call it hypervigilance. It's defined as a state of heightened sensory sensitivity and enhanced alertness to potential threats. It's not a personality quirk. It's not ordinary anxiety. It is your nervous system doing something very specific, running a constant background scan of your environment, because at some point, that scan became necessary for your survival. In most people, the amygdala fires when something is actually threatening, and calms back down once the threat has passed. But in women who carry chronic hypervigilance, that system doesn't fully return to baseline. It stays slightly elevated, always ready, always listening. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, trauma researcher, describes this as the body carrying memory in a way the mind hasn't fully processed. The nervous system learned that the world is not reliably safe, and it kept that lesson even after the original danger was gone. This is not a thinking problem. It is a wiring problem, and it makes complete neurological sense. There's also a connection to anxious attachment, a relational pattern identified through decades of research, in which a person's early caregiving environment taught them that safety and security are not guaranteed. They have to be earned, watched for, maintained. Women with anxious attachment don't just monitor their emotional environments. Many extend that monitoring to their physical environments too. The body and the heart learn from the same teacher. So when you clip that canister to your bag every morning, what you're actually doing is regulating your nervous system. You're giving your threat detection system a concrete, physical answer to the question it is always asking. Am I safe right now? The pepper spray says, yes, as safe as I can make myself. That is not irrational. That is your nervous system doing its job, the only way it knows how. But here's the question I want to sit with for a moment. When did your nervous system first decide it had to work this hard? Think back before any of this was automatic. Before you started planning routes or scanning rooms, there was a version of you who didn't do any of this. A younger version. And something happened, or accumulated, that taught her the world required more vigilance than she was born with. Maybe you grew up somewhere that wasn't reliably safe. Not necessarily dangerous. Maybe it was unpredictability. A home where the mood could shift without warning. A neighborhood where you learned fast to read people before you got close. A childhood where the adults were present in body, but inconsistent in protection. And your small, brilliant nervous system concluded, I will have to watch out for myself. Or maybe something happened when you were older. A moment when you trusted the world to be safe, and it wasn't. One experience, one night, one person, and afterward you promised yourself, never again. Or maybe nothing dramatic ever happened, but you watched it happen to other women. You heard what happened to someone's sister, someone's friend, and your nervous system didn't wait for a direct lesson. It learned from proximity. All of these paths lead to the same place. A woman who learned that her safety was her own responsibility, not because anyone sat her down and told her that, but because the world around her confirmed it, again and again. But here's the part I want to be honest with you about. That hypervigilance costs something. The exhaustion that lives underneath your functioning. The way you can never fully relax in a room. Never fully put the bag down. Never completely stop listening for something to shift. You carry the preparation for the worst, so the worst doesn't catch you. But it means some part of you is always, quietly, bracing. And the loneliness of that, of being the woman who is always ready while everyone around her seems just fine. That part doesn't get talked about enough. What you built was not paranoia. It was not weakness. It was not anxiety for no reason. It was a response so perfectly calibrated to what you lived through that it became invisible. It became you. The readiness is not a flaw in your character. It is evidence of how hard your nervous system has been working for a very long time. You were not broken. You were paying attention in an environment that required it. Drop an 8 in the comments if this is the first time someone has put words to this for you. The work now, when you're ready for it, isn't to stop carrying the pepper spray. It's to slowly, gently, let your nervous system learn that the emergency is not constant, that there are rooms that are safe, that you are allowed to put something down without everything falling apart. You were not too careful. You were doing what you had to do. And now, maybe, there's a little more room to choose. When was the first time you remember feeling like your safety was your own job? Not someone else's. Yours. How old were you? Was there one moment? Or was it something slower? You don't have to explain the whole story. Even just the age. Even just a single word. If this resonated, our next video goes even deeper. The psychology of women who were never told they were enough. Watch it next.